Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us once again, and I hope all of you are having a great day. As we get things started off here, and by the way, I'm your host, Ben Crossman, of course. And as we get things started off here, we have a great guest for the first part of the show. And we are going to be talking to New York City Data Science Academy. And they have everything you need to, talk about data sciences, what it takes to become a data scientist. And, we're going to learn all about this profession that is currently, booming. There's no other word for it, because data is king in this world. So we'll be talking to the CTO in just a minute about everything that they're doing to help people train and get ready. But before that, a couple things to mention, including computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find anything and everything having to do with today's show. Be that links to our guest website, be that any articles that we cover, videos that we show, just anything that you may need to know. We have you covered. Don't worry if you're driving, if you're working, just check out our website and everything should be right there. Also, be sure to check out the social media contest where every Friday, we give away a prize from our friends over at Logitech. That's right. We happy to do that and how to enter right there on our homepage. And the last thing is, of course, the live video feed where you can watch Computer America and not just listen. So, if you feel like following along, we'll be showing off, videos and our guest website, things like that. As we, kind of do the interviews, it's, just another way to check out the show. So with all of that said, I think we're just going to go ahead and jump into this because I have a feeling, this could get a little complicated, but we're going to keep everything as simple as possible. So once again, joining us is New York City Data Science Academy. We have Ms. Vivian Zhang here with us. She is the CTO. And Vivian, thanks for joining us here on Computer America.
It's a great pleasure to be invited.
Yeah, so this is going to be great because obviously computers, technology, right up our alley. And, New York City, just the name New York City Data Science Academy, that sounds like something that a lot of our listeners would be very interested in. Give us a little bit of a background on, for those of us who haven't heard of it, on the academy, how did it get started, and then a little bit of your background. How did you get involved in all this?
Sure. The school have a little bit over 4 years history. We started in 2013, and it was a big coincidence how we started school. Because when I grew up, I never think about myself would become a teacher, but I do a lot of volunteering work, like making food for homeless. And around May 2013, I started to teach data science for free towards the meetup community. Very quickly, I started to got like around 45 companies sponsor my event, including all the top names such as McKinsey, Microsoft. They're telling me they love the workshops. They want their employee to get training through those events. That's how I started school.
Very, very cool. And, just a word that you mentioned there that I think a lot of our listeners, maybe you've heard of. I know personally I was a little bit too young for it, but I had heard telltale of these meetups and, user groups. They were a huge thing, a while ago. It was a great way to, share technology, learn together. And, it was just another way that technology spread among a community. Tell us more about these meetups that you were kind of having. I mean, just in everyday life, do you find that people are receptive to this kind of training, or do they still kind of think that it maybe not, that maybe isn't for them?
So first meetup. Meetup usually hosts like after work time in like corporate environment, like Microsoft might offer 200 people event space for technical people to share how certain thing is done by different tools or technology. So in New York, it's really popular, and you can find a lot of people wanting to learn data science. And I initially started a meetup called NYC Open Data. So I was sharing how average audience who doesn't have much technical experience can utilize data for their day-to-day life. I was analyzing 311 call data for New York City to show where you can find the most mouse sightseeing, which location have the most noise complaints. So it's actually related to everyone's daily life. So it got really popular right away. And I also showed other open source resources people can utilize, like how to find the best school loan they should go, where they should invest into buying a property.
Right, and I mean, this is we're gonna have a couple of questions pertaining to that, but let's take one little step back here and talk about data sciences, because you just mentioned a couple of different applications for what I feel is, data science. But give people an overview of, of what is data science.
Sure. Data science is a very interdisciplinary field. It includes computer science, mathematics, statistics, and a lot of business knowledge and strategy. So it's a science people use to extract knowledge or insight from data, and mainly towards business application.
And obviously there's a lot, and we're seeing that every day, that a lot of very, very large companies, they really don't do anything that isn't data driven. I mean, really, if the data isn't there, they're very hesitant to kind of go against what the data does read. So I mean, talk about becoming a data scientist, because it's obviously it's probably not as simple as just looking at a lot of data and just intuitively knowing what the results are.
That's right. Become data scientist is not that easy. You need to have really, really good coding skill, so you can be the one make things happen. If you have math and the statistic background, you can really understand the deep meaning of the modeling and how to interpret the result of the modeling, and have the business insight and the strategy side help you really make the analytic benefit towards productivity or effectivity. So like you have to be good at all three different domains, and which is hard.
Now, when you said that this is, very interdisciplinary, and we've been hearing on the show, I mean, we've had a lot of different companies that come on, and they're pushing something not exactly new. I think it's been around for a couple years.
That's right.
Yeah, but my question was to artificial intelligence. Like, obviously, computers are getting better at analyzing their own data or taking in large amounts of data. Is data science, is data science as a field being replaced, or is this something that people should really, be getting into more?
So 20 years ago, data science was called data mining, or like knowledge discovery. It has all different names. With the growth in this field, everything reconciliation into data science. AI is one subfield of data science. So it's everything driven by data. All the technique you can use to extract information from data.
Right. So and I mean, but I guess the other part of my question was, do people still have a place in this, or or are there like kind of grunt workers that go out, collect the data, and then feed it into a system, like Watson, or some of these other less well known artificial intelligence systems? Are data scientists, kind of in demand as always, or yeah?
So I wish life is that easy just to fit data into Watson, but it isn't. So most of the data scientists have to start with collecting data, cleaning the data. You might heard someone quote something called like you will spend 90% of the time to clean and process the data, munging data, integrate different resources, because the data is never clean. But data scientist is not just someone putting the data into a system. They need to come up with the business logic to understand what's the best way to interpret the data. When you first get the data, should you do a summary statistic to see whether there are any outlier in the data, or should you see what's the commonly seen pattern, like, oh, people usually come to buy more when it's not raining, or can you see a pattern of different fabric become more trendy in different season? So the problem is never fixed. Like even fashion industry or marketing industry or insurance industry, they can look at data for different purpose, and it never be like one model fits all or there is a perfect model. When you're talking about model and the analytic, it's just one thing, one model or one method is more useful than other.
Very well said. And you jumped ahead into my next question, which was going to be, what companies do we find are really interested in this? Because I'm sure companies such as Facebook and Twitter, I mean, not only do they collect and mine their own data, but they also use it to prepackage it or prepare the data and sell it to as advertisers, to marketers, to product design companies. What companies are interested in data science?
So we are not just a consulting firm, or also do consulting on the side. That's enable us to know deeper how industry are using data science. So through the experience, we work with hundreds of hiring partner and the consulting clients. From the technical side, industry like Google, Facebook, IBM, Watson, Bosch are using data science, like improve their trendy analysis. Like Facebook is putting a lot of effort to anti false news since the last election campaign.
Yeah.
Watson is trying to use their technology to like predict how a patient get readmitted, what kind of dosage should use on different patients. Bosch, one of the biggest company in Germany, they are utilize data science to predict what's the trend for different industries they're producing product for. We also work with a lot of people in finance, like JP Morgan Chase, Bloomberg, Goldman, Morgan Stanley, Barclay Bank, Capital One. A lot of top finance industry and institute are looking into how they can use data science to acquire more clients, how they can detect whether a client is going to leave them, whether they will invest more. So, like, even, for example, one of the finance institute work with us from different perspective. One from the marketing perspective, one from the newsroom perspective. So different team in the same corporate use different way to utilize data science.
All right. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those jack of all trades that if you have the data and you have enough of it, then really it seems like almost anyone could definitely make use of of these types of skills. So let's go ahead and talk about your academy here, where New York City Data Science Academy, you mentioned, just a couple years old. And let's talk about what exactly is it that you do, because being an advocate for people getting retraining, that's certainly very important, but you actually offer the training yourself. So talk about the services that you provide.
Of course. NYC Data Science Academy teaches individual data science through the full-time program and part-time program. We also work with corporate closely to train their employee to better benefit from their data. We do a lot of big data projects. We want to connect our trained data scientists into the industry, help them to land a job. So we have been licensed by New York State Education Department, and actually New York State Education Department was one of our clients. So we want to be the horsepower to push this industry forward by training more candidates, by placing more highly qualified candidate into the industry to lead the trend.
And that's the part where I get caught up a lot, because, I definitely take a look at education and how it's evolving with the internet. The idea that you have to go to a classroom to get the best education, not always the case. I mean, remote learning is as hands-on as any in-person interaction can be. But I have noticed a lot of, fly by night, a lot of, startups that are not accredited, things like that. I mean, how important was it for you to get these partnerships with New York City, with these large companies, and not just say, trust us, what we're teaching you is applicable in the real world, and people just kind of have to trust you. How important were these partnerships that you made?
So partnership enable us to know what are the struggles, what are the data struggles company are facing. For example, last cohort we work with one of the big beverage company in the United States. We get to see their real vending machine data. We get to see all the sentiment analysis and result out of those picture and decide on what kind of formula of the drink will really become a big hit. So we are working as part of the R&D force for different corporates. We also work with like Port Authority to optimize their timetable. We work with mobile firm to come up the best mobile package they should sell to the clients, how to come up with a typical persona for our mobile user. So having those industry partnership really allows us to know what is going on in the industry, what are the problems they try to solve, which also enable us to update our content about 10% of our 600-hour curriculum on quarterly basis. We put a lot of R&D resources to make sure we always stay on the cutting edge of the industry.
I have no doubt that a program specializing in data sciences would use data to further improve its own course. That only stands to reason. This is a topic that I've explored myself, and there's a number of ways to get into, when I was approaching it, programming and computer sciences, things like that. I mean, going to a 4-year, college institution, what have you, it's certainly a way to go, and they'll certainly teach you, and you'll get your paper at the end of it. But it's, for a lot of people, it's not the right way. I think that accreditations, that getting certificates, such as from like A+ and Microsoft, those are also important to have in your toolkit to kind of prove that you have skills necessary. Why do you think a boot camp is the right way to go for people? Because there are other options, and I don't want to say that one fits everyone, but the idea of a boot camp is a bit new to me.
Okay, so from the student we have got into touch with, we have seen like 3 main reasons. First, bootcamp is the most cost and time effective program. More than 80% of our students already have master and PhD degree. So investing into another 2 years to 5 years program is not option for them. Also, they have been in data relevant position, so they don't think they can learn that much. The second reason is the quality of the program. They want to be able to find a program that can close the gap between the individual and the industry, and they want to be able to find the jobs right out of the program. So we have seen students already got Master of Data Science coming to our program because their academic program didn't do a good enough job to really teach them everything needed for a kid going running. So what I also teach at university, I'm an adjunct professor at Stony Brook. So what I have seen, and my husband is also a professor, what we have seen with the academic program is it takes a very long time to get your curriculum approved. Usually you need to submit it a year ahead of time when it was taught. So it's not like us, we update 10% of our curriculum every quarter and work in data science consulting closely. Academic won't be able to catch up with the trend that closely as we did.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No worry. The last reason I see most people mention to us is the quality of the outcome. So a lot of students have utilized everything online. They learn through Coursera, Udacity, DataCamp, all the free resources or some low-cost options. But they still feel that like they couldn't get anything done on their own. The hands-on part is completely missing. They might be good at the multi-choices question, but be able to solve a problem from beginning to the end is hard. So everyone come to our program will be able to have a full portfolio to demonstrate their skill in different domains, such as data exploration, analytic, visualization, web scraping, machine learning, and big data. So when an employee asks them, do you know this? Do you know that? Usually their answer is yes, and they have something immediately they can show to the hiring manager.
Very, very cool. And we're going to talk about, kind of how you also help people, identify places that they could fit after they graduate. But, and you touched on something there that I think a lot of people, or, something that I am very, very much an advocate of. And that's if you want to learn to program, if you want to learn to code, if you want to start, in any of these techie fields, the internet being what it is, there's a lot of free resources out there. But you're right. You can only do Khan Academy so many times before you have the basics down, but you don't have hands-on training, just like you were talking about. So very cool that you offer that. Before we move on, let's talk about exactly what it is you're offering. You mentioned a couple of different types of applications. I see here on your website, you teach them to code, learn R, Python, machine learning, and big data in just 12 weeks. So, what are some of the specifics that you're actually teaching people? Is it to learn to program in a certain language? Is it learn to use certain programs used in the industry?
So our goal is to enable our student to be a full stack data scientist. So the first week we will teach the very basic like Linux scripting language. So later on, when they use Python and big data, they know how to get started with terminal. Then we move into SQL. SQL is one of the most commonly used way to query the data. Then we move to GitHub, because starting from second week, they're gonna start to submit homework by GitHub, which is a source. It's a code control software. When you work in big company, like work with 50 data scientists in the team, you need to have effective way to communicate with everyone what you're doing and pull other people's work. So we start with the 3 data science toolkit. Then we move into R. We teach how to clean data, munging data, integrate different resources, including structured and non-structured. We teach all the popular packages such as dplyr, ggvis, ggplot2. Then we move to Python. We teach people how to do the same thing, how to clean, integrate, query, visualize by Python. So they will have the 2 most popular data analytic language in their pocket. Then when people have all the basic skill in the first 4 weeks, and they can do well with it, they are guaranteed to get a junior level of data scientist job, because that's exactly what every job is asking for. Pandas. Then if we adjust the gear towards machine learning. So we teach over 25 most used machine learning technique. We start from the basic linear regression, logistic regression, how to interpret the result, then move to more challenging topics such as clustering, PCA, random forest, then move to more advanced topics such as XGBoost, how to do machine learning on big data cloud environment. We teach how to use Amazon Cloud, how to use Google Cloud environment, how they can save data, utilize online internet clone instance immediately to do computation. So in the end of the program, they have idea how to do the whole process with data and deliver product, because they will be able to write web application, be able to run script, come up with the software package. So they're not just like someone know the idea, they can really implement everything on their own.
I gotcha. So, folks, if you want to figure out what all that means, take the course. No, but you're thank you for outlining the course. That was, obviously very, very informative. And so, let's talk about some of the fun things, because once you do this, once you have skills and someone, you have a marketable skill, and as we mentioned, earlier on in the show, this is an area that is only continuing to grow and is in very much high demand. Do you keep statistics on, what a typical job and salary of students, what a starting point is for your graduates?
Yes. Majority of our students are getting data scientist title. We do see a few students are becoming data engineer, data analyst, manager of data scientists, or even chief data scientist afterward. So the salary spread is also big. We have about 10 to 15% of bachelor people we're seeing fresh bachelor, like econ major or English major, are getting 50K to get started.
Wow.
We are seeing people have more experience or have PhD are getting up to $250,000 now.
That is definitely a large spread, and obviously, they can command those higher salaries because, well, they're so vital, and very, very cool that you have found and identified that companies, because honestly, we hear it on the news all the time that while unemployment rate is low, there's still a lot of jobs and there are a lot of jobless people. It's just the skills that the companies are looking for are not available, by the public. They just don't have these skills. So obviously a program such as yours would give them that. So let's talk about some of these partnerships. You mentioned that, you also partner with corporations to do, you give advice, you do, some work for corporate. Do you have any kind of partnership programs for job placement? You mentioned Microsoft. I can only assume they'd probably take any and all data scientists that you pump out. Do you have any partnerships?
Yes, we work with hundreds of hiring partners directly on the job placement side. So every quarter, we invite our partner to come in if they have a immediate opening. So last cohort, we have 32 students graduate, and we have more than 60 companies came in to talk with them. We work with Google, Facebook, IBM Watson, JP Morgan Chase, Bloomberg, Goldman Sachs, a lot of big names. Whenever they have opening, they will send a job description to us and say, do you have anyone good you think the culture will fit and the background gonna fit? So we support their hiring need without any cost. We want our students get the best job out there. So we don't charge any job placement fee, which is very welcoming message for the corporate working with us. They appreciate our gesture to place the best talents with them.
So, and that, of course, leads me to one of my last questions, and that's obviously, nothing runs on completely charity and goodwill. I know that you mentioned that you do a lot of charity work, and that's very great. But an institution such as this, you got to pay the light bill, you got to pay your teachers and staff and faculty. Heck, you have to pay for the URL domain. I mean, how does the student pay, or is it through these partnerships and these services that you offer corporations? How much does it get started? Let's stick to the consumer for a little bit here. How much does this course cost?
So right now we're charging $16,000 for the 12 weeks full-time program or the part-time online program. It covers everything you need to know about data science. We also offer courses by part-time, like by weekend basis. Like if you take 5 weekends class at different level from introductory, beginner to intermediate, the part-time course is ranged between $1,600 to $4,000. So the candidates can choose the career path or the improvement path for themselves.
I got you. So obviously different choices for people who are looking to get, more out of this and less out of this, a number of options. And, just to be clear, you do have a campus, but you also offer online courses.
Yes, our online program is also approved by Department of Education in New York City, and we're seeking national accreditation. I actually just fly back from Texas yesterday. I was getting a director training to be able to offer foreign student visa in near future, and we're looking at more strong regulated field to be accredited.
Okay. So, and if people want to find out more, where should they go? We have a link to, let me get this right, we have a link to nycdatascience.com. But if people want to find out more, where can they go?
You can email us by info@nycdatascience.com or go to our website. We have live chat channel. Our amazing support going to help you to find the best thing you needed to become a data scientist or learn more.
Very, very cool. And folks, if you go there at the very bottom of the page, they have a number of upcoming events and courses. Obviously, you have to sign up for them because teachers are on hand. But Vivian, thank you so much. This was very interesting, and obviously, thank you for coming on and telling us about this.
My great pleasure. Thank you so much, Ben.
All right, have a great one. Bye-bye. And everyone else out there, stay tuned. More Computer America right after this.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is, we're good. It is 31 minutes past the hour as we continue on here. And yeah, just finished talking to Ms. Vivian Zhang. She is the CTO of New York City Data Science Academy, and you can definitely check that out. We have, again, a link in the show notes if you so choose. It's very, very interesting. Obviously, this is one of those cases of, well, hey, if you want to, if you want to get in on a field that, honestly, I think if you have the right skills and the right talent and you were very targeted and very precise in what position you wanted, then hey, with sounds like a couple $1,000s, and obviously the will to learn to code, the will to learn to work with these systems, then hey, then you could find yourself in a very lucrative position. And that's what, that is very, very possible, because not a lot of people are aware or have the inclination to do this kind of thing. So you'd be paid very handsomely for obviously taking the effort and taking the time to do something like that. So at any rate, we continue on with computer and technology news brought to you by, before we even do that, soon we'll be doing computer technology news brought to you by Fire Dragon Security. But before that, we have a message from, of course, one of our sponsors. Very, very happy to do this. And yeah, so hey, why don't we just get started with this? So if you're hiring and you know that quality hires keep the business moving forward, but you also know it can take a lot of time to find the right candidate for the job. And well, hey, you definitely want someone who, hey, we just talked about it all day today. You definitely want a person with the right skills and the right services. So that's where ZipRecruiter comes in. Now, with ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards with just a single click. So you can rest easy knowing that your job is seen by the right candidates. And then ZipRecruiter puts its smart matching technology to work, actively notifying qualified candidates about your job within minutes of posting. So you receive the best possible matches. So obviously they do push notifications to the people looking for work about the job posting you just listed. And that's why ZipRecruiter is different, where unlike other hiring sites, ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on the right candidates finding you. Instead, it finds them. And trust me, I've been on the other side of that, where you have to go through job posting after job posting after job posting, where none of them seem just quite right. Hey, very, very cool that they do the legwork for you. So you can even get a head start on the interview process by adding screening questions to your job post to help identify the most qualified candidates, so you don't have to waste time sorting through a stack of resumes to find the perfect fit. No wonder 80%, big number, who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just a single day. And then the easy-to-use ZipRecruiter dashboard lets you hire and manage the entire hiring process right there, all through the dashboard. ZipRecruiter, it's the smartest way to hire. And now for today, this is where you come in. Computer America, if you have a job, if you run a small business, if you are a hiring manager for a firm, hey, you're in luck, because ZipRecruiter, they're letting you post for free. That's right. You can post your job for free at ziprecruiter.com/computer. Again, that's /computer. And you can post your job right there. And hey, find the right person for the job. Check that out one more time, ziprecruiter.com/computer. And hey, tell them Computer America sent you. So in the meantime, everyone, once again, that was a message from ZipRecruiter. Very, very thankful. And now we continue on to computer and technology news, brought to you by Fire Dragon Security. Here we go. All right, let's get this started. Now, we have a couple of stories. Some of them are a bit more in depth, so I think we're going to try to tackle those first. We have plenty of time to do a couple of these longer stories. So I think the first one we're going to do is this one right here. And this is from Slate, although it's following a story that's been breaking ever since this weekend. And, we're going to get into where the information comes from. But essentially, it shows that Apple, and again, part of me is like, I can't, you can't blame them for using the tax code to their advantage, but at the same time, actively and very aggressively avoiding taxes just doesn't seem like the right thing to do for a corporation. But yeah, we're going to get into this and just exactly what Apple is doing to avoid paying taxes on $252 billion. 52. Yeah, $250 billion that Apple has very creatively avoided taxes on. So here we go. Again, this coming to us from a website called Slate. Ms. April Glasser. And Apple makes a lot of money off of those expensive iPhones that we're addicted to. So much that it has $252 billion to stash in countries besides the one where it's based, which is, of course, the United States. And Apple has been doing this for years, but according to a new document released on Monday as part of the massive cache of secret corporate records called the Paradise Papers, which was analyzed by the International Consortium, or Consortium, what have you, of investigative journalists. And its partner Media Corporation, the California-based tech giant, has taken great lengths to continue its practice of tax dodging, including moving its cash to the island of Jersey, despite attempts by regulators to rein the company in. So for those of you who don't remember, and there's a statement here from Tim Cook saying that we pay all the taxes we owe, every single dollar. And it's not like Apple is exactly, they don't have the cash on hand to pay any kind of tax that you may levy against them, but they're doing some very again, Tim Cook here says that we do not depend on tax gimmicks. We do not stash money on some Caribbean island. Now, obviously, it's true, but what happened was that they were using Ireland. So Apple was essentially reporting that their headquarters was dual. Of course, there's the main headquarters in California, Cupertino, I believe. And no one doubts that is the hub of everything Apple. But on paper, Apple was reporting that their Ireland offices were really their headquarters, and that's where essentially all of the international revenue was going. Revenue within the United States, that's obviously going to be handled by Apple in the United States, but for international sales of their products and things was handled through their Ireland arm. Now, what does that mean? Ireland has this thing about it that it's trying to appeal to corporations to move there, and obviously if you get companies such as Apple, or really, I don't want to say Apple's the only one, but a number of large corporations used Irish firms because of their corporate tax rate, which was so low. I think it was like 5%. It was so low that, yes, it attracted businesses, but at the same time, it was only kind of a shadow. I mean, I recall a report that they went there looking for a corporation, the size of Apple. I don't want to say it was Apple exactly, but they were looking for a corporation the size of Apple, and they were looking for their corporate headquarters in Ireland. And they found like it was on like the second floor of a residential building. There were 2 people there, and that was the entirety of the office. So obviously, a sham, and just used for tax purposes. Now they cut back on the Ireland whole thing, but turns out Apple is currently storing most of its cash on Jersey, not New Jersey, but Jersey, an island in the English Channel about 19 miles off the coast of France. And about 5 months after the hearing, Ireland started to scrutinize the Irish firms, of course, including Apple's European arm, that were exploiting the country's lax tax rules. Now, and again, the thing that makes this so interesting, obviously we knew that Apple was doing this before. Apple will continue to do it until something breaks. But the thing that makes this interesting is that it's revealed through papers that were otherwise inaccessible and were leaked. So obviously someone knew of this, and be it the accounting side, but these documents were not meant to get out. But now that they are, we now know that Apple is hoarding $250 billion on a small island that has no presence whatsoever on the world market. Now, these companies weren't really paying taxes since they didn't have a residency anywhere in the world that would require them to do so. And at the same time, Irish law only considered a company to be tax resident if it was managed in Ireland, but Apple is, of course, managed in Cupertino. So, they said that, and here in the US, our laws consider where a company is incorporated. Apple has arranged matters so it can claim that these ghost companies, for tax purposes, exist nowhere. And again, that was back in a 2013 hearing. So let's see. Let's get to the meat of this argument, saying that they said that the new information about Apple's international tax dance comes just days after Republican lawmakers unveil a new U.S. tax proposal that would reduce the corporate tax rate from 35% to 20%. And that with this plan, we are making pro-growth reforms so that, yes, America can compete with the rest of the world, yada, yada, yada. Essentially, they're making it so that corporations that are doing this, in Apple, they aren't the only ones doing it. Make that very clear. They're the subject of this article. They definitely have a huge cash reserve sitting out there, currently not, being taxed. And folks, if you're wondering how this, why and how this kind of happens, Apple can reportedly operate at a loss. They can, or even not even at a loss, but they can operate at a zero profit situation. So, if they need to recoup costs in the United States or anywhere else in the world, they just send money from, Jersey, and they bring their books back up to zero. Or in some cases, if it helps them, bring it to a loss. And hey, it looks like they made zero profit, so you can't tax anything that isn't profit, or at least we don't tax anything that isn't profit. And hey, zero profit, that means Apple pays very, very little in taxes. Next thing you know, Apple's sitting on a pile of $252 billion that is sitting there waiting to be used. But they know that if they try to use it for research and development in the US, if they try to, bring it back in and redisperse it among the shareholders, then it would be taxed, and it's currently just waiting for a tax holiday. All in all, very interesting. And again, the fact that we know about this strictly through a leak source of documents, very telling, and it's going to be interesting to see if anyone stands up to corporations that do this. Again, not just Apple, but all corporations, because they're allowed to get away with it. This is happening because we allow it, and I can't even blame them for doing it. If you get, if you have a pile of cookies in front of you, and they say you get no cookies, but then they can secretly sneak them under the table, and you let them, why wouldn't they sneak them under the table? You're letting them have their treats without paying their taxes. So anyways, don't blame them, but something definitely needs to happen, and yeah, otherwise it's just going to keep happening. So there you have it. There you have it. And we are going to move on from that one. But still, we're going to hear more about that. That's just a very interesting take on that story. All right, let's see. Here was another interesting one. All right. We'll try to get through this quickly, but cryptocurrencies. We've talked about them on the show, and mainly Bitcoin. Bitcoin is obviously a huge one. Very, very popular, one of the first, and obviously, hey, got us all familiar with the idea of the blockchain. But digital currencies, as we know them, there are a number of them, and another one that has a lot of investors really excited is Aetherium. And Aetherium, kind of a play on words off of ethereal, means that it's a cryptocurrency that is extremely, anonymous. It's hard to track. It's, just all in all, in a number of investors' mind, the epitome of a cryptocurrency. It's currency that exists with no oversight. Now, here's a problem. Turns out there was a glitch. And turns out a security bug in a popular Ethereum wallet platform has caused what amounts to a bank freeze on scores of high-valued wallets. That's right. So, Parity Technologies Limited, the developer of cryptographic wallets for the digital currencies Bitcoin and Ethereum, announced that an accidental trigger of a bug affecting certain Parity wallets had broken them, making it impossible to transfer Ethereum funds out of them. I hope you all understood that, because I certainly don't. But as a result, here's the important part. As a result, 1 million Ethereum coins have become frozen in wallets. Or other words, they can't be verified. I'm sure something about the ledger, and they couldn't be, verified against ledgers written elsewhere. So essentially, you can't move these, you can't sell them, you can't trade them, can't do anything with them for roughly $280 million worth of Ethereum, or at least worth of, the digital currency. And of that, about 90 million belongs to Parity founder and former Ethereum core developer Gavin Woods. And yeah, hey, so it sounds like it's even affecting their own high-ranking officials. So, and let's see. So let's get again to the end of this, saying that by calling a function from within Parity's wallet library, a wallet owner could turn on a single owner wallet created with Parity's wallet contract library code. Oh, holy cow, that sentence just kept going. Into a multi-signature wallet and take over ownership of it. The bug in the code would allow someone to kill contracts between any created with the most recent Parity code library. And that is exactly what happened, saying that someone managed to invoke the code as part of a wallet and made themselves part of every multi-signature contract created since the bug was introduced into the code. And the user then suicided the wallet and in the process disabled all the multi-signature contracts that had been created since July 20th by making them quote-unquote suicide as well. So if I'm getting this right, it sounds like this guy was able to create a wallet, and through a bug in the programming was essentially able to make himself, I kind of want to say like a cosigner, make a contract with these other ones. And obviously the contracts are set up so that both parties have to agree to any kind of transfers and things like that. But once it was a part of all those contracted wallets, it deleted itself. And half of that contract, it still thought it was in a contract, but couldn't reference the other wallet that was, again, assigned to it through the bug. And next thing you know, hey, all of them are unable to be used because that contract couldn't be completed. So they said that, Parity is still investigating on how to correct the problem. And the individual who triggered the lockdown claims to be new to Ethereum and expressed concerns about what would happen to him on the forum. So, yeah, and they even have a screen cap of what transpired here, and essentially, yeah, seems like he was hoping it was a mistake. But anyways, they said it's literally left pad all over again, but with large amounts of money. So there you have it, Aetherium. If you are not able to access or transfer or otherwise use Aetherium, hey, now you know the reason. Some newbie, novice, accidentally messed everything up for everyone. All right. So let's see. All right, this next one, and I have been waiting for this moment since 2013. But you may have heard of the service Waymo. Waymo, they were previously labeled as Google self-driving car, but of course, Google split off into Alphabet, and now Google is a subsidiary of Alphabet, just as Waymo is a subsidiary of Alphabet. And this article here, coming from Medium, saying that Waymo, that's right, the fully self-driving vehicles are here. And when they mean here, they mean available to the public. So it's going to gradually roll out over the next couple of months. But, folks, this is the moment that we have been waiting for. So the article starts off by saying that with Waymo in the driver's seat, fully self-driving vehicles can transform the way we get around. And folks, it definitely will. So they said that 2 years ago, Medium completed the world's first fully self-driving trip on a public road. And when Steve Mann, who is legally blind, traveled from a park to a doctor's office without anyone in the driver's seat. I remember that video. Google made a very nice video of this gentleman who is, again, legally blind, cannot drive a car by any means, and was able to take a solo ride to the doctor's office, giving him that little bit of independence. And this ride offered a glimpse into a fully self-driving future where roads are safer, commuting is less stressful, and everyone can get around regardless of driving ability. And since that ride, we've been working on bringing fully self-driving technology to more people in more places. Obviously, this seems to be written from the point of view of Waymo. Now, with Waymo in the driver's seat, we can reimagine how many different types of transportation, from ride-hailing and logistics to public transport and personal vehicles, and we've been exploring each of these areas with a focus on shared mobility. By giving people access to a fleet of vehicles rather than starting with a personal ownership model, more people will be able to experience this technology sooner. And it gives you a heads up there. A fully self-driving fleet can offer new and improved forms of sharing. It'll be safer, more accessible, and more flexible, and you can use your time and space in the vehicle doing what you want. So, yeah, layman's terms, Waymo is looking not to sell this technology to, Mercedes or Honda or Ford or what have you. Waymo is looking to brand their own vehicles, their own cars, and shuttle you around through Waymo branded vehicles that you would have no ownership over, that you would owe no insurance to, you would owe nothing for, except for obviously the fee to use it. And I can't imagine the fee would be anything out of line for other ride hailing services. Now, here's the thing. That's why the first application of our fully self-driving technology will be a Waymo driverless service. And over the next few months, we'll be inviting members of the public to take trips in our fully self-driving vehicles. Invitation at first, and then I'm sure by the end of next year, this will be available to select cities to anyone. And participants in our early rider program will be amongst the first to experience these self-driving rides, using our vehicle to commute to work, take the kids to school, or get home from a night out. And when fully self-driving vehicles become part of people's everyday routine, we can move closer to our goal of making transportation safe and easy for everyone. So there you have it. And of course, the article, we have a link to it in the show notes, goes into it a bit more if you so choose. But this is super cool. And, you know, essentially what they're saying is that, and I think they're going to be doing it in California, obviously, and select cities, but they're going to offer it to people who are approved. They don't want just every random person doing this at first, but eventually it will be every random person. It'll be whoever wants a ride, be it, you know, a drunk person coming home from a bar, be it someone who doesn't have a car, you know, a college student that doesn't have a car but needs to get across town. Any number of these solutions, Waymo will have your back. So there you have it. And yeah, I can't wait till this starts, you know, in earnest. But again, probably starting this year, and then over the next couple months, more and more people will be able to use the service. So yeah, no other way to put it. This year, 2018, will be the first time we start seeing self-driving cars. This is exciting. All right, time for just one more story. We have to make it quick, and we have a couple of very, very interesting ones. All right, how about we do... All right, let's do this one. Folks, if you go through your day-to-day life and you rely on the ability to blur your face and become unrecognizable to the world around you, you may be in trouble. And I know that's a bit, you know, really, that's a bit ridiculous, but at the same time, here is an artificial intelligence program that can turn unrecognizable pixelated photos into crystal clear images. And if you're watching the video portion, you know, we have an image of it here where essentially they're turning a pixelated bird back into, well, a bird, but a much more detailed one. So they said that its inventors, the inventors here, they said that you know, they work in Germany, classify their software as a single image super resolution through automated texture synthesis, and that's exactly what it does. It scales up very low resolution photos by synthesizing textures that introduce new detail into the resulting high resolution image. And the synthetic detail makes the resulting pictures so realistic that they are almost indistinguishable from the actual photo. And perhaps for the first time ever, artificial intelligence can now recreate reality with uncanny accuracy by using fake details. So to be clear, you know, they give an example later on in the article of, you know, people's faces, and you can see it there, where this won't undo blurring. If you take a blur effect and you put it on a photo, you're essentially losing a lot of detail. But what this artificial intelligence does is they're taking the same kind of technology with upscaling, where you turn, you know, a 1080p video into a 4K video, where they blow it up, but then they fill in the blank spots with what the artificial intelligence can only assume is a logical answer. So, you know, it's, let's say there's a pixel, let's say it blows it up and then there's a pixel surrounded by blue pixels. It's probably going to put another blue pixel in there as well. And while a very simple concept, you expand it, let it keep going to its natural conclusion. And you can see here where perfectly blurred faces, people you probably couldn't tell who they are, become unblurred. And while they are not perfect to the original, they are very recognizable as the subject. So it may not get, you know, every little detail right, but it's going to look just like a person. It's going to look just like a bird, a cricket. It's going to look good, is the point, even after being blurred. So, folks, with that, news is just about done. Everyone, the music means that we are done here. Be sure to tune in tomorrow on the program as we talk to Sandy Berger, as we talk all about consumer electronics. She is our consumer electronics expert. And folks, thanks for being here. I want to Also, give a thanks to our guest today, the New York City Data Science Academy, Vivian Zhang. She joins us, and if you missed any part of that, check out the podcast version of the show. And if you're listening to us live, thank you so much. And folks, until next time, thanks again. Catch you then. Bye-bye, everyone.